Hey, this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling with Platinum against AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. This is from September 22nd, 2021. Definitely putting your best foot forward. AEW has been doing increasingly well, basically giving us setup show after setup show. This show was a little tricky in that it was really a setup show, but they certainly gave us enough fireworks and the big fight feel on more than one occasion to sort of get away with it. I imagine this show will do very well. As well it should. Opening with Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega to a 30-minute time limit, I thought was brilliant. They gave you the match you exactly wanted to see, and Kenny Omega immediately responding on Twitter and the like. Ain't gonna be no rematch, which is, again, you know, anytime you can do an Apollo Creed reference, it's phenomenal. But that's great. They did what they needed to do. CM Punk coming out and cutting the promo about how happy he is to be there, and calling out Powerhouse Hobbs and Taz's crew. Again, it's a show that appeared to be a big, huge show, and it was in many ways, but it was also a show that looked towards the future. Brian Pillman Jr. and MJF, they gave us the match that they should, which is Brian Pillman Jr. getting a measure of revenge, but MJF ultimately getting the win. Alex Marvez talking to Chris Jericho and Jake Hager, and them setting up their thing against a top team guy who I can't fucking stand. And also, of course, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Malachi Black with a good match against Cody Rhodes. I really liked it. Of course, the story that everyone's going to take away from that match is that the crowd has officially turned on Cody Rhodes and Brandy. And Malachi Black goes over, spraying mist in the eyes and winning with a small package, which was, how's that for a clever cleaver? Miro with the promo, more things about having sex with his wife and pleasure and pain and all this stuff. And he and Sammy are the big match for next week, Wednesday, which I think is a great call. Great call. You got a big audience this week. You want to make sure they've got something to tune into next week. FTR with Tully against Sting and Darby. Really good look. And I found myself by the end going, I think I want to see Young Bucks against Sting and Darby. So I sort of put that out in the universe, the Twitterverse anyway. The finish, incredibly clever. Sting locking in the Scorpion Deathlock. FTR is trying to help each other out. Darby hitting the coffin drop from the top rope onto the apron, just crushing Cash Wheeler. Wow, it was phenomenal. And then Ruby Soho and Britt Baker. It's tough. They love Ruby Soho, but then they love Britt Baker. And so what we got was an exhibition in Ruby Soho being incredibly tough and taking an ass whipping, and then giving it back, and then Britt Baker winning with a sort of like a heel finish that you would expect. Rebel tries to get involved, gets decked for it, but then Jamie Hayter, snaps Ruby Soho's neck off that top rope and lands into the lockjaw and taps out. So I don't think they got everything they wanted out of that women's match. It was very good, but as far as crowd reaction, it was tough for the crowd to really have a discernible way and a discernible viewpoint, which is a little bit of a problem that they're going to have going forward. How do you set up a challenger for Britt Baker when she's so wildly popular? And when they do all the heel stuff, it does make her less popular, but it also doesn't make her a heel. So they're in a really unique problem there. And I'll be interested to see how they go ahead and tackle it and solve it. Because we really only had 5 matches, and they had to flow from one match to another because they did that time limit draw, and they still wanted to give a few matches some decent time. There's not much else to talk about. Except you definitely want to check out that Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega match. And I'm looking forward to the 2-hour Rampage. I have a feeling that 2-hour Rampage is going to tell them something that maybe some people don't want to know, which is they're much better off having a second 2-hour show than a 1-hour show that tapes after Dynamite, if they really want to garner an audience for Rampage. This has been Stephen Platinum.